Hello guys, this is Layla telling you a story about her life. I'm using fake names, and please forgive me for that. I like my privacy, and I don't want my kids to come across the story right now. I will tell them in due time. This story is about how my dad, Van, and brother Harry threw me out of the house because I was a girl. Yes, my dad thought that I was useless and not worthy of his name just because I was a girl. It's not like my childhood was spent in neglect. My mom, Gina, was actually a very loving mom, and my family was okay if not perfect. My dad was kind to me, and I rarely saw him anyway. He was busy with work, so it's not like he had a lot of time to spare for me. But I did notice that whenever he was free, he used to prefer spending time with my brother. It always made me sad and wonder why he was my dad's favorite. As we grew up, the favoritism was subtle but couldn't be missed. Harry even picked up on it and used to boast that Dad loved him more. Mom always reprimanded him, but Dad actually never said much. I stupidly thought that it was maybe because Harry was the class topper and I was not a top scorer like him. So I started to work hard and study more to get the best grades in my class, but still nothing changed. Dad still preferred to spend time with Harry over me. In my teen years, I did hold some resentment about this, but still loved both my father and brother. I had slowly accepted that things are just this way and I cannot change them. Things were going fairly well in my life, but everything turned into a nightmare after my 18th birthday. The day when we celebrated my birthday, my dad was in an exceptional mood. He was joking around and being super happy. I thought that he was just happy for me, but I was wrong. I was so desperate for his love and attention that I started to interpret his actions differently. So, in a few months, when he approached me with Harry and said these things, I was caught off guard. He said, "Layla, you need to move out of the house now that you are 18. I'm done housing you." "Dad, why are you joking right now?" "This is not funny." "Who said I'm joking?" "Do I look like I'm joking?" Dad was looking serious, but I simply couldn't take his words seriously. I couldn't imagine that he would do this to me. I couldn't ask Mom what was going on because she was away on a family trip. She was with my grandma, who was nearing death and wanted her last trip with her family. My mom had left just the day before, so I didn't know what to do or think. I said, "What did I do, Dad? Why do you want to kick me out? I don't understand." "Wow, you can't understand a simple sentence, Layla. Dad was right when he said that you are exceptionally stupid." "What, Dad? Do you think I'm stupid? What is going on?" "Listen to me, Layla. If you really think that I would house you all your life, you're wrong. Now that you're 18, I'm not obliged to take care of you anymore. I'm serious, Lee. I want you out by next month." My father's horrible tone brought tears to my eyes. I was crying so hard that I didn't know how to calm myself down. My father was being downright mean to me, and I didn't even know why. Harry was just standing there and smirking at me while I started to cry. Dad didn't even come to comfort me. His face said how little he actually cared about me. I was still in complete disbelief that my dad would do something like this, that he could be so heartless. I said through my tears, "Why are you being like this, Dad? I'm your daughter. I know I'm 18 and you shouldn't have to take care of me, but why are you being so mean? Do you want me to shower you with rose petals and tell you gently? You will not get that from me. You should have seen this coming. But I don't understand, Dad. What did I even do to deserve such treatment? You promised to send Harry to college, but you're kicking me out once I am 18. Why are you doing that?" I don't need a useless girl when I already have a son. You were seriously just a burden for me and nothing else." "Dad, what are you saying? I am your daughter, your child. Just because I'm not a man doesn't mean I'm useless." Dad and Harry simply laughed out loud when I said that. I was in tears while my dad and brother were straight up laughing at me. I felt small and insignificant. I felt like I was a joke to them and everyone around me. It absolutely broke my heart and shattered me from the inside. I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself in it. Meanwhile, Dad and Harry had a great time humiliating me for fun, and they weren't even done yet. Dad said, "Do you think I wanted you, Layla? The moment I found out I was having a girl, I wanted to get rid of you. But your mother got emotional and threatened to leave me. That's why I had to grin and bear while you came into this world. You never wanted me. You wanted to never have me. Why would anyone want a useless girl like you, Layla? Don't you see the business world is not for women? They are only good for bringing in capital with their inheritance. You see that, Layla? Harry knows what's up. He doesn't blindly follow sentiments and knows that women are only good for home life and their inheritance. I mean, that was the reason I didn't abort you in the first place. If Jin had divorced me, I would have lost her inheritance from her father. I couldn't believe how my dad was treating me and my mom like business deals. He was showing no emotion whatsoever and was saying some horrible things about both me and Mom. It made me feel disgusted. I was finally seeing what monsters my father and brother were. My father had really successfully groomed my brother into a mini version of himself. Harry wasn't innocent, though. I had observed him before, and he knew exactly what to say to get our father's praise. However, I had always refused to accept their patriarchal ideals. I said, "I can't believe you would talk about your own family this way. You two are nothing but monsters who have no respect for women. I'm glad you figured it out, Lee. I was having a really hard time pretending to love and care for you. In reality, I don't care about you even in the slightest." "Yes, Dad, I can see that now. It's all starting to make sense. I thought you liked Harry better because he got better grades than me, but you didn't change even when I crossed his grades in school. Now I know that you had no good reason to hate me. Oh, please, Layla. Dad doesn't even care about you enough to hate you, even if you get good grades. You're still useless. All you are good for is to work under someone. You will never be a boss like a man, like me would be. You are an absolute horrible man, Harry." I had no idea that my own family could be so misogynistic. "That is why we are sparing you from calling us family, Layla. Believe me, I have no interest in telling people that I have a stupid daughter. If you were all obedient and sweet, I may have considered letting you live until I found a businessman's son to marry you too. But your mouth would ruin that. So the best option is to kick you out now that you're 18. It was then I realized that my father was serious about what he wanted to do. He really was kicking me out because he didn't want me to cause trouble in his family. When we started this conversation, I was crying tears of grief at the way my dad was treating me. But now that I knew why he was kicking me out and making me suffer, I was feeling nothing but anger. I said, "Fine, you want to kick me out, right? You will get your wish. I will leave as soon as possible." Now, that wasn't too difficult, was it? If you had been so obedient for the last few years, I really would have come up with a better plan. Who knows, I may have even set you up with a good husband. There will be no need for that, Dad. I wouldn't marry someone you chose because he would for sure end up being like you. You think I cannot do anything in life just because I'm a girl? I will prove you wrong, and moving out is the first step of my plan. Oh God, you really are in the mood to make us laugh today, Lee. The little dreams you have in your head are truly ridiculous. Go and try, but don't come crying when things don't go according to your plan. I would rather die than come back here. I won't be somewhere where I am not appreciated or even loved. Thanks for setting me straight, Dad. I promise I will never forget that, and won't let you either." I said that and ran to my room. Once I was inside, I broke down again, thinking about how I would soon have to abandon my childhood room. I was a crying mess and didn't know how to control myself. I couldn't reach Mom because her vacation home didn't have a signal, so there was nothing I could do but cry. That night, for a single night, I let my emotions take over me, and I cried my heart out. The next morning, I woke up with resolve and set out to find my own destiny. That same afternoon, I managed to get 2 jobs in 2 separate stores. It was going to be a hassle, but I would get by somehow. I also needed a place to stay until I could get accepted into a college. It was then that my boyfriend, Noah, offered to let me stay at his place. His parents loved me a lot, and they were ready to welcome me with open arms. So I went back home, packed a bag, and left the house for good. When I finally got settled into Noah's house, I started to work at my job straight away. A week went by in a blur until it was time for my mother to come back. I found her at Noah's house when I came home from school. She looked really stricken and said, "What is this I'm hearing, Lee? You moved out of the house." "I don't know what Dad and Harry told you, but I didn't simply move out, Mom. I was actually kind of kicked out." "What? What are you saying? Who kicked you out?" "Dad did. Mom, the day after you left, Dad sat me down and told me that I needed to be out of the house since I am now 18. He doesn't want to take responsibility anymore." "That is a bunch of nonsense, Lee. You are our daughter. You will never be a burden. I don't know what has gotten into Van." "Mom, it's all right. You don't have to protect Dad. He made it clear how he never wanted me and only had me because you threatened to leave him. He told me in no uncertain terms that I was useless because I was a girl." Mom looked shocked and very sad at what I said. I knew that she had tried her best to make my dad love me. I mean, Dad even controlled himself and only kicked me out when Mom wasn't around to stop him. He was somewhat scared of messing with her, despite his rant on how women are useless. Mom did have an aura of authority, plus her own assets make her extremely valuable for anyone. I guess Dad really didn't want to make her angry, but he didn't realize that Mom would eventually find out the truth. Maybe he thought I wouldn't sell him out. Too bad I didn't care what Mom thought of him and Harry anymore. I told her the truth, and Mom looked very disturbed after that. She said, "Oh dear Layla, you are not useless, my girl. I hope you know that." I tried so hard to change Van's misogynistic attitude. I really thought it was working, but I see that I was wrong. Yes, somehow he managed to turn Harry into a mini version of himself as well. It was rather hard to watch. I tried so hard, but I failed in the end. He was so good at faking his love and care that he even got me fooled. I really should have left when he had asked me to abort you. I understand why you stayed, Mom. I know you didn't want to raise me in a broken home. You tried your best. Unfortunately, Dad stayed because he wanted your inheritance. I'm sorry, but I wanted you to know that." My mom smiled at me. That was a knowing smile that she gave me. I realized that maybe my mom wasn't in the dark about my father's intentions with her inheritance. She lived with that man for over 20 years, after all. Mom actually patted my head and said, "I know about that, Lee. Your father cared a lot about my inheritance. I thought I could use it to make him love you. I was so stupid. I'm sorry he put you through this, Layla. You can come home, you know. Van wouldn't kick you out. It's also my house after all." "I know, Mom. I also knew that you would try to take me back home, but I don't want to go back. You don't have to be worried about Van or Harry, dear. I will put them in their place. You just concentrate on your studies and upcoming graduation." "Mom, look, it's not because I'm scared of Dad and Harry. They were hit me in the heart. I don't want to go back and prove to them that I'm weak and useless. I want to make it big and show them how wrong they are. Wow, my daughter has grown up all right then, Lee. If that's what you want to do, I'm all in. Just promise that you will ask me for help if necessary. I literally have the best mom in the world. God may have messed up when he gave me my dad and brother, but he really made my life better by sending me my mom. She was one of those few people who supported me when I had nothing. I was in a very dark place, and the only light at the end of the tunnel included my mom and No. I graduated high school with flying colors and immediately got accepted into a prestigious college for a business degree. No was also at par with me, and we ended up going there together. While he got a scholarship, I couldn't qualify for one due to my parents' income. But my mom ended up giving me money to cover tuition while I worked my way out of the remaining debt. I continued to work while finishing up my degree. Once No and I were out of college, we decided to start our own business, which started to do really well. We were business partners, and our company really took off in 5 years. Eventually, we got married and ended up having 2 kids. My father and brother were not invited to my wedding. I actually went no contact with them. Even my mom doesn't share any information about me with them. Oh, by the way, Mom ended up divorcing my father for what he did to me. She ended up getting half of his business, which Dad bought back from her. This caused a financial strain on his business. Eventually, this, coupled with a series of horrible decisions by his loving son, landed him in a lot of financial debt. I found out about my father's sinking business from my husband. He brought up the topic at dinner with my mom. He said, "Hey, Layla, did you hear that your father's business is in ruins now?" Really? I never bothered to think about what he was up to. Did you hear anything, Ma? Yes, I actually did know about this. Your father and brother made some horrible mistakes, which have almost ruined his company. The prices of shares have absolutely dipped. So much for having men run the company. How bad is it? It's pretty bad, actually. I took a look at his shares, and I think you can easily buy him out. No said that because he knew what I was thinking about. I did want to get back at my father for what he did to me, and since it was a family business, I didn't want it to end up in someone else's hands. My dear husband was thinking along these lines and said, "I know what you're thinking, Layla. You can buy out your father. It would be a great opportunity for you to show how far you have come." I wholeheartedly support No's idea, Lee. You should definitely do it if you have the means. I do have the means, actually. You know what? I will do it. I will buy the business from Dad, and he won't even know who took his business away from him. I wanted to buy out my father because it would be my ultimate form of revenge. However, I didn't want him to find out about what I did. No, instead, I bought shares through No and even my new company so that he wouldn't find out what hit him. I took one look at his shares and knew that I could easily afford it without breaking the bank. My business was worth double his, actually, so I ended up buying the majority shares of my dad's company. Now I was going to sit on the board of directors at not only one company, but 2. I didn't tell Dad about it until the first board meeting that happened at his company. Oh boy, he was shocked to see me. He said, "What? What are you doing here, Lee?" "Good to see you too, Dad. Long time, isn't it? I see that your precious little son isn't here for you. He's no longer a part of the board. I will represent myself from now on. I'm not surprised, actually. His mess-ups have made your company tank. At least you made the right call by excluding him. Looks like there is hope for you. And who are you to tell me whether or not my company has hope? A woman like you doesn't know anything, so you don't get to say what I can and cannot do, my dad. I see that you are still a misogynistic idiot. Well, you would have to get rid of that since you will be working with me now." "What? What do you mean?" "It means that I am now on the board of directors and have bought the majority of your company. Dad looked at me like I had lost my mind. In his thick head, he simply couldn't imagine this happening in any universe. So he was really taken aback when I said those words out loud. He looked at me in disbelief and said, No, that can't be true. That is impossible. You're joking. You can't have the majority of shares in my company. Why don't you take a look at all the documents and find out for yourself? This is impossible. Where did you even get the money? This can't be happening. You still underestimate me, Dad. Can't say I'm surprised. Old habits die hard. Well, I guess you never cared to learn, and that I co-own a fairly successful company in Le, the company under which I bought most of your shares. Dad's face lit up with realization. He was now connecting the dots and figuring out that the company was co-owned by me. He never bothered to learn the names of women in the business industry and didn't care about me enough to know that No was my husband or my boyfriend when we were younger. So it never occurred to him that I was the one buying his company. He was still in disbelief, so he took the documents from me and read through them. The look of horror and defeat on his face was enough to avenge my younger self. I finally felt like I had kept my promise. I showed Dad how wrong he was. I won't bore you guys with the rest of the story. If you're interested, I will leave a short summary of what happened in my life after this. As you know, I ended up taking the majority of control over my dad's company. I was making some major decisions which ended up giving great results. It was a bit of a hassle to manage two businesses, but I made it work just fine. I'm happy to say that both my businesses are doing well now. Dad has tried to mend bridges after I took over his company. However, I wasn't that interested in it anymore. He has to support his useless son Harry, who is not even allowed to be on the premises of our business. Dad has apologized for how he treated me in the past and ended up selling his portion of the company to me. This made Harry mad, but I took his offer as well. So now I'm in full control of Dad's company, while he has been forced to retire. And guess what? His precious son got nothing. Harry is now working at other businesses instead of being able to work for his father's company. No, I didn't give him a job because no one wanted me to hire him at my dad's company. Looks like he finally got his lesson about how misogyny and entitlement can ruin his life. As for me, I got to prove myself while expanding my assets by buying my father's company from him.